It being 6:30, I call this meeting of the Manchester by the Sea Select Board to order. Jeff Delaney,
Here.
Ryan Solacey,
Here.
Kathy,
I'm here.
and
John is here.
John is here. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items?
We're being recorded.
We're being recorded. Yes, thank you.
We just moved into the second spot. You're the vice chair.
No, thanks.
Hearing none, and does anybody see? Ordinarily, when somebody puts a hand up, it shows up on the screen, so I will assume that there is no public comment. That we have no chairman's report, other than this is a multi-holiday. Action items. Are there any comments or anything that we need to put on the action items?
I updated the target dates with
Okay.
Debbie after our last meeting. And I met with Sarah Crichton today about the harbor management plan.
Mm-hmm.
That March 2nd might be a little early. There's still some work to do before bringing it in front of the select board. But other than that, I think these dates are good, unless there's any comments from the board.
Just a question on the Ocean Street one. Based on what we know, deliberation in June sounds about right. Have we sent a communication out to the residents yet to let them know we finished data collection, or?
I was gonna wait until after we meet with the engineering firm,
Okay.
which is, today's Tuesday, I think we're meeting with them tomorrow.
Okay,
So it'll go up by the end of this week.
awesome, thank you.
We get a copy of that, I hope,
Of the communication,
of the engineering report.
yeah, I don't know if we actually have like a full report yet. What they've basically done is they've collected data, they had tide gauges out there, they've done a lot of topo analysis and things of that nature. So we're kind of having a regroup to talk about what's the next step in their process and when we have our public meeting,
Okay,
which is likely gonna be that first week in June.
okay.
So whatever I get from them, I'll be happy to share, and then we'll send some sort of communication out to the neighborhood
Yeah.
by the end of the week to let them know that we're planning on that first week of June for a public
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Awesome, if you could just copy us on that too, that would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. The first item on our agenda is to open the annual town meeting warrant. And
That's
you. Mhm.
Okay, I move that the select board open the annual town meeting warrant.
Second,
All in, Jeff,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Kathy?
yes.
Anne says yes.
John, yes.
John, yes. Okay, we have articles from the planning board which we need to address and accept. Okay.
Yeah, so we have five articles from the planning board, and 4 of them are zoning articles. I see Chris Only's here from the planning board, who could probably speak to a couple of them. We've talked with the planning board about those 4 zoning articles, which is downtown zoning, senior housing, inns, and update to ADU bylaw. And so zoning articles require a unique process with the planning board where articles are sent to the planning board for them to conduct a public hearing, which they'll be doing on March 9th at 7:00 p.m. And then they put together a recommendation that they'll get to us prior to the end of March so we can include it in the report from the finance committee, in the book that goes out to all the residents.
Sarah? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
are you on NB, on number 1? Because I can't get in.
We are on We are on 2, I believe.
Okay, something screwy, okay,
Alright.
something wrong.
Yeah, we're on 2.
I'm just gonna reclaim host then from
Okay.
him.
Yep.
Something else go in the other room.
Could I be on the wrong thing?
All right, so
Okay.
do you want to hear?
Yes, I think we'd like to hear
Okay.
from the planning board on.
Okay, you wanna go through each one of the articles?
In large, not in,
Sure,
Permitted.
so, first off is the, downtown zoning bylaw. And that proposal is to, basically to change the zoning to reflect what's actually in the downtown instead of what's in the G district, which is what currently encompasses all the downtown. And one of the big things we're trying to do is to allow residential uses by right above commercial uses, so mixed use. Currently, that requires special permits and variances to accomplish and causes a great deal of trouble. The other thing we're doing is prohibiting single-family houses in the downtown because they take up a lot of space and don't provide much benefit to the downtown. We're trying to support the commercial and retail uses in the downtown, and single-family houses don't do that very well. So that's the gist of the proposed bylaw.
I think I'd like to let people ask questions after you go over each one. So, are
Okay.
there questions on the 2 downtown districts?
I guess just in general, are we looking for comments and questions now, or will that really be handled at the March 7th event?
Well, you can ask them now, they can be on March 7th, might be a little more efficient, I suppose, but we're always anxious to get comments from everybody. Frankly, we've had a couple of public forums on the downtown zoning, and we've gotten very little negative, in fact, no negative comments at all. I think people generally like the idea of a vibrant downtown, and allowing commercial underneath with residential above accomplishes that very well.
And the next is
The next is senior housing. So, senior housing, we're one of the few towns anywhere that doesn't allow or doesn't have any provisions for senior housing. I've been trying to get this onto the books for a long time. It's been very frustrating. We've had all kinds of technical reasons why we've been unable to even present a plan to the town meeting. In this iteration of it, we're allowing senior housing with a special permit in any district and with a density of no more than 10 units per acre and a maximum unit size of 60 units. There are some changes in the districts. The D district and the G district would allow housing on a half-acre lot, on the other districts on a full-acre lot. So that would mean that in the G and D districts, it'd be essentially a 5-unit maximum on a minimum lot size. And in the other districts, a 10-acre project could be done on a minimum lot size. Obviously, if there was a 1-acre lot in the G district, then you could put 10 units on it. In addition, we're requiring that for every 5 units, 1 be affordable, similar to what's in our MBTA district, and that there could be some leeway for additional affordable units, 1 or 2 extra units if they were affordable. And finally, there'd be a local preference for town residents, their relatives, and town employees to have preference in living in these properties when they get developed.
We've used units in 2 different senses, I think. You said 10 units on an acre and 60.
60 units would be a maximum. So if you had 6 acres, you could have 60 units. If
Each,
you had 10 acres, you could still only have 60 units.
so each So there's no description of height or,
They would follow the same height and setback and lot coverage requirements as for the district underneath. There's no change.
okay, the next is inns.
Well, I just have one question on this, and it goes to that question that I had asked, I guess, at the forum.
Sure.
So are you gonna have in the March 7th meeting, kind of some sort of a handout that says, this is how many lots actually meet the
Yeah,
requirements?
we
Oh, you got it in your hand?
So Sandy Bodmer Turner, God bless her,
Okay,
actually took the MBTA data for the whole town and put together a schedule for how many lots in each district are larger than 1 acre and larger, and between 1/2 and 1 acre. So townwide, there are 689 lots bigger than an acre. And between 1/2 acre and 1 acre, there are 499 lots. There are obviously fewer of these in the D and G districts. And quite a few in the E district, as you might expect. And we think the E district might be a great location for conversion of one of these mansions, one of these big estates. To turn those into a senior housing property would be a great way to save a historic structure that couldn't otherwise be used.
Yeah. so I don't know how many lots are in town. I know that there are 2,200 living units, just ballpark. I mean, this is half of them, something like that.
Yeah, of course, there's no way of knowing how many of these lots are actually
Well, yeah,
suitable. That's going to be for a developer to figure out.
good info.
Anyone else?
Okay, on to inns. So inns is pretty straightforward. We're allowing with special permit an inn of no more than 12 units in the G and downtown districts, and also in the LCD.
The last inn we had was, I think, in the E district.
Yeah, but, you know, was the old Quarter Inn an inn? I guess it is.
It
is.
Yeah.
Well, it's too bad that we don't have any of them now in town, and it's hurting our commercial businesses because people stay in Rockport or Beverly or someplace else.
And the ADUs?
And the ADUs is very simple, it's a very straightforward one. In the D district, when we approved the ADU bylaw, the previous bylaw, we said, well, the D district allows two duplexes, two family houses by right, so why would you possibly need an ADU? But in fact, an ADU is different from the second unit of a two-family house. We had an instance of a family who wanted an ADU, but it couldn't be approved because they weren't allowed in the D district. So we're just cleaning that up.
Any other questions or?
Ready for a motion?
Yes,
I move the select board accept and submit all 4 zoning articles to the planning board for a public hearing.
Second.
John,
Yes.
Anna says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. The next item is the FY '27 operating and capital budget and CPC.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first I'd like to just start to say that we're on schedule. The Finance Committee is moving right along. As you just saw, the Planning Board is sticking to a similar schedule. We have citizens petition, well, all articles are required to be submitted 60 days prior to town meeting, which is Friday, February 27th. So we opened the warrant tonight, added inserted some articles from the planning board. And citizen petitions have to be submitted by the end of the month to be included. We ask that if there are any citizen petitions out there, that they connect with Eli, our moderator, and bring them in as soon as you can. Once you get signatures on a citizen's petition and submit that to the town, we can't make any edits to the text. So if there's any legal issue, it's almost too late. So if there's anyone thinking about doing citizen petition, you bring it in, we'll take a look at it, make sure it's written correctly, and then go get signatures. Or offer it to the select board to take it up on your own. The finance committee has met every Thursday since the beginning of January. We've gone through almost every single operational budget that's been on their agenda. We did have to skip on veteran services and town administrator select board just because of timing. I think we'll get back to those this week. What's left is assessor, inspectional services, benefits, pension, insurance, and school. School should be presenting to the finance committee not this Thursday, but the following Thursday on the 26th. After that, we'll be getting into reserve fund, capital, debt service, post-employment benefits, and any other budget edits that come in over the next few weeks. So I'm very pleased with where we are in the process so far with the finance committee and the planning board. We seem to be on track to have a book to the printer by the end of March with everything included in it. So there's less, we're trying to have less handouts, at town meeting. I handed out this packet to you all. This first page is just the updated printout of expenditures. So as you can see, the recommended budget is balanced. In fact, there's an additional $26,465 there that we have yet to allocate or recommend an appropriation for. We're still waiting on final numbers from health insurance, although we've gotten an indication that number has gone is more likely to be around a 15% increases versus our original was a 20% increase. We've received an updated budget from the school that reduced from their first number significantly, so we're fully funded at the school's current number. This also includes full funding of OPEB, so we wouldn't have to. We could start drawing down on the trust starting next year, so that would put us a year ahead of the
So
original
we're
plan
going
schedule.
to, we're going to make this year's payment plus next year's payment.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is not, this year's payment was around $360. $420 would have included, it's not
It's not
$360 and
full.
$360, yeah.
Well, that frees up about $700,000.
Yeah, it's still kind of, I'm a little unsure on that number to understand how, how the interest works into what we can draw down on the trust, what we still owe on an annual amount,
Yeah.
But it's a significant difference and helps us
Mhm.
significantly going into next year. The other big like outstanding number here is what is our curbside collection contract going to cost us? We're putting pressure on Republic to get us an updated number daily. We're also starting to reach out to some other companies because we're not really getting the answer as fast as we want. We've been told we will have a number from them, an actual budget number. By the end of last week, we didn't get it, so We're just continuing to put the pressure on Republic to get us an updated number. That's a big outstanding variable. But as far as operating budget, we're in pretty good shape right now where we are. As I said, we haven't talked about capital yet, or we've talked about capital, but the finance committee hasn't made any formal recommendation on capital items. That's the second page. It says 78 in the bottom corner of the packet I gave you. One of the big items under capital is the rotunda restoration. So we went back and forth a lot about whether we fund the rotunda restoration through CPC or whether we fund that on our own. The finance committee and the CPC felt pretty strongly that they prefer that we don't fund the project through CPC, but they are willing to provide an additional $250,000, potentially go up to $350,000 this current year towards the cost of the project, and then we would have to borrow the remaining amount. We did an analysis to see what the tax bill impact was on that borrowing, and also what the CPC impact was for that borrow if we had gone through CPC. And there was concerns about, the debt service, long-term debt service through CPC, handcuffing their budget in future years to do other large capital projects. So I have updated our application to the CPC to make a request for $350,000 this year, and then as part of our capital proposal, borrowing the remaining amount through the town.
Is going forward, then the CPC would not be contributing any money to that project?
CPC can't contribute funds for town debt service. Depending on how the project timeline works and when we actually borrow for the total cost of the project, maybe they could contribute additional funds next fiscal year, but if we borrow before that, then they wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
Obviously, PFAS is another very, one of the bigger capital improvement projects proposed for this upcoming year. Even the most recent updated number is around $16.5 million. That is out on the street, and the procurement, we're hoping to get results about a week to 10 days prior to town meeting. So if there's any, substantial increase in the cost of the project, we can quickly make that adjustment and be prepared to go to town meeting to ask for the borrowing amount. We may be able to go through the SRF program through the state for that project. We're waiting for the DEP's IEP to get published to see if our project is included. And then we'll do an analysis to determine whether that makes more sense for us to go through that program or to borrow on our own. They do offer long-term, low-interest loans. Sometimes they include debt forgiveness. How that low interest compares to our own and our bond rating, we're unsure of yet. But there are requirements through the SRF program that could lead to increased costs on the total project. So that's what we need to do, is do that evaluation. And actually, DPW is working with the consultant to structure the bid documents that we get a base bid of non-SRF program project, and then alternative bid for if we did go through SRF and you had to meet all these requirements, then what would your projected cost be? So this could be an easy way for us to do that evaluation. Central Street Culvert is on here for $5 million. The thing about the Central Street Culvert project is that while we'd be asking for the authority to borrow, we might not actually borrow the funds because we currently have BRIC funding that is in litigation for extension. And that's a national litigation amongst attorney generals from a number of different states. If that fails, we're also applying for state funds through the MVP action grant for $5 million. And hopefully we know by July if we end up getting those, if we end up getting that grant. And then we'll have some time.
So we authorize the borrowing, the town votes to accept to bond, we don't bond, and we hope that money comes in and we don't have to.
Yeah,
I think to that point, Chuck and Nate both said they can't go out to bid until they know that the funding's in place.
Right.
So this allows to start the process going, right? Is that
yeah,
fair?
so the construction schedule for the culvert is basically Labor Day so early September to March. In order to execute the project in that construction window, we really need to know by April to to be able to go out to bid, have, a contractor under contract, mobilize, and get that project done on that schedule. So there's pressure to get the project done as soon as possible because there's always a risk of issues with the culvert, structural failure, or even just, DOT coming in and saying, this is structurally unsound, you can't drive on it. Those are issues that we've seen in other communities, so we don't want to wait too long. So,
But we don't wanna jump the gun too early.
but
if
we don't want to
there's
jump the
money
gun too early either. So I think that if this gets approved in April and then at May's, election, it's approved at the ballot, we would then be trying to see what happens with BRIC, see what happens with MVP, and probably make a decision, early next calendar year for next winter. It'd probably be too late anyways for us to do something for this upcoming winter. We don't have permits in hand yet either. It's still going through that Chapter 91 process, so.
So it gives you a year to figure out where you're gonna be, basically.
Right. But if we were, we talked about, do we potentially not ask for the authority to borrow the $5 million at the upcoming town meeting and wait until next year? But then if BRIC and MVP don't work out, that could jeopardize not, winter 26, but it could jeopardize our ability to get the project done winter 27, and now we're looking at winter 28. So we're trying to be in a position to get this project done at the latest next
Right.
fall,
Now,
winter.
it could be, assuming we have, and that's an assumption, if there's a town meeting in November, it could be on that warrant. Correct? That timing is okay?
No, I think he's saying we put it on the April one.
That's correct. He wants to put on there, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But you haven't had the capital discussion yet.
Yeah, in theory, I guess you could wait until November to ask.
Okay.
Or if it fails, you could ask again.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
But I think the message that, it's important that we explain to residents that we're asking for the authority, but we are not going to utilize that authority until we feel we absolutely need to. Our hope is that we're able to utilize the grant funds from the federal government, or hopefully we get state funding to replace that.
So how are we going to explain this?
I think it's good.
Kind of like, yeah.
Like-
Kinda like that.
Yeah.
Once all the articles are finalized and all of our numbers are finalized, and the book goes to the printer at the end of March, I'll be hosting informational sessions to go through, leading up to town meeting, to go through the articles and provide that.
Tiffany will videotape them or.
We'll
record
probably
them.
do them hybrid
Oh, we
by
could- so we
Zoom,
could-
so,
They're recorded and they can go on.
yeah. And we're also utilizing all other, the Cricket articles, Manchester Minute, the website, trying to get as much,
Yep.
prepare people as best as possible leading into town meeting.
So I have a question. So if we end up bonding the PFAS ourselves, we have to bond the culvert and then whatever for tox. Down the road, as this all adds up, is this gonna start affecting our bond rating?
It shouldn't, because your reserves, OPEB would be fully paid off. All of these would be, most of these are, or all of them are voted on by debt exclusion, so there's a funding source attached to the debt service, so that shouldn't.
Shouldn't.
If we were borrowing them without debt exclusion, it could.
Yeah.
Because now it's your operational budget, your general fund paying that debt service, so that could be an issue, but where these are essentially debt exclusions, it shouldn't.
So that column under borrowing, that's kind of where the thinking is right now, those 4 projects plus Tux. I'm doing the math, it's about 30 or so, a little short of that.
Yeah, if you flip after the capital table, the next document, which is a spreadsheet, is top left, it says capital financing through borrowing. So your proposed authorizations, PFAS is 16.5 with a 30-year term. Rotunda is 2, Central Street Culvert is 5, dredging is 1.9, Tappan Street's 4.1. And then if you go to the next page, it gives you a tax bill impact for a $1 million home, a $2 million home, and a $2.65 million household. What each of those dollar amounts, what the tax bill impact is for each one of those
Assuming a borrowing schedule that you made an assumption about,
of 30-year.
when you're gonna use the money.
So for instance, the PFAS 16.5 on a 30-year term, for a $1 million household, it's a $42 tax bill impact. And then you can see that as you go down.
Yeah, so
So we're
that's
trying
really,
to kind of layer them together.
really helpful to have each item itemized like that, so that way a homeowner can say, okay, so if I vote for this, this is my impact roughly.
You did put a
Is there
total
a-
at the bottom.
What I haven't seen, and maybe I'm missing it
That's
because
a
there's
page before.
so many numbers, is there a bottom line? Here's
Yes.
here's the current year's tax bill for a $1 million, $2 million household. The operational budget adds this much to your tax bill, just on a one-pager.
Mhm.
And each project, as you've got broken down here, so that they can see the total impact, potential impact to their tax bill with everything, including the operational budget.
Yeah, we definitely have, it's not included here.
Okay.
But we
I
do
think that'd be a
have
good
that.
communication tool.
Yeah.
Because once they see the big number, they'll either say, okay, and they won't dig into the details, or they're gonna say, whoa,
Mhm.
maybe not, and then start digging into the
Yep.
details. So I think you start from the top down.
Okay.
It's good, it's very helpful.
The next page was this was just, I included to show you this in case you wanted to talk about CPA, but this was the analysis we did on if we had borrowed the Rotunda project through CPC, what the impact to their budget looked like. So if we had done a $2.3 million borrowing at their existing 1.5% CPA rate on a 10-year bond, their available budget in fiscal year '27 after a $283,000 debt service payment was $280,440. So that, they typically have around $400,000 to $500,000 to allocate on an annual basis. That would have been a pretty significant impact to the CPC annual budget. So I think that played into some of the discussion and the decision that we made to just seek funds this year from CPC and then borrow on our own.
Seems like a good compromise.
Yeah. And then the last document stapled in here is just a very, very preliminary draft warrant. As you can see, there's a lot of highlights here that need to be updated. We have a lot of the language or articles are with KP Law, who's looking to provide us some language. And there'll be additional articles added here. And I'm, working closely with Eli too on how some of these articles might find themselves into a consent calendar to streamline the voting. But that's just wanted to show you the update of where we are. I think for the next meeting, we should be able to give you a cleaner, more solid initial draft of the warrant.
Only probably, will the warrant have the operating budget broken down as it has been in the past with separate items for, treasurer, collector, accountant? Or will they be bundled into the larger?
I think it's gonna be similar to how it was last year, where we, the motion speaks to the total in each category, where someone can hold,
Yep.
and then come back to it afterwards. But I don't, it's not gonna be,
So you don't have a land use category with everything underneath it, but
correct, right.
it would be each, as if they were still separate departments.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to keep it as consistent with what's been done in the past as possible.
Okay.
The one part I gotta find out more about is on the borrowing articles and how that is either included in the motion for, say, Article 6, or if it's separated out.
We generally have separated out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we utilize SRF for PFAS, it would absolutely need to be separated out because that's unique borrowing language. So I'll get that worked out before our next meeting.
Good shape. Like I said, I would like to see that total, just on a one-pager, impact to the tax bill with the line items.
Yeah.
Well, it's really helpful to have it, so thank you. And thanks to Andrea for putting that together.
Yeah.
That list did not have the CPC, the rotunda on it, I don't think. The list in here, because you want to settle on how that's gonna fit together.
I think it is.
Oh, it did.
It is
It's
in
there.
here.
Yeah.
It's here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one is not on there?
Article 15, number 10,
So you got 5 listed here,
and that's CPC, sorry.
one's not there.
Might be on the next page.
Oh, is it run over?
Yeah. PFAS, Rotunda, Central Street, dredging. Oh no, they're all 5 are right there.
Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah.
All right, that's my FY27 update.
Do you have the update on the tax bill for the operational budget as proposed right now?
I don't have it with me,
Okay,
no.
all right,
I've seen it. Andrew was working on it,
okay.
but I didn't have
Can we
it.
just see that at the next meeting?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so is the select board comfortable with that approach on the rotunda? I think especially it'd be important to, at least at a minimum to be, in line with where the finance committee and the CPC are. And both of them seem to be pretty adamant that we just seek funds this year and borrow on our own.
Is that a project that would then be scheduled, because I think all the permits are mostly in place.
I think we're still waiting on
Yeah, there's one there.
one
Is
more
there one, but
permit.
is that a winter?
Yeah, the hope is that we have, you know, in April, all the funding sources related to the 4 big harbor projects are secured. So that's Rotunda, Morse Pier, dredging, and
Reed Park.
Reed Park. And we have permitting for most of those projects. I think we're just on Rotunda and dredging, we're waiting on one more each. So the idea, we could save a significant amount of time and money for the town by procuring all 4 of those projects together. And doing them at the same time under one contractor.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
Come and park himself in the harbor.
Exactly, yeah.
So that would not be this coming winter, but the following winter?
It could be this winter,
Maybe this winter, yeah.
could be. Just depends. It could be 2 of the projects this winter, 2 of the projects the following. It kind of just depends on what happens with permitting and funding.
Okay, the discussion, next is discussion items and a request for the recreational use of Rosedale Cemetery extension for the high school winter track. Please introduce yourself.
Sure, Brian Davis, 4 Sumac Lane. I'm also the head track coach at Manchester Regional High School. So the request is a very limited and supervised request. The Rosedale Cemetery Extension paved loop happens to be a perfect distance. It's 200 meters approximately. And we do have, I believe you have a one-pager that I submitted, but I can go through some of the details. But the key part is, and obviously sensitive to the rules that govern the cemetery and balancing them against some of the needs here. We have a very small number of athletes. There's typically a group of 5 or 6 who once per week typically will do an interval workout. So an interval workout consists of, let's say, 6 loops of that extension with a 1-minute rest in between each loop. Takes approximately 20 minutes typically for the workout. That's about as extensive as we run them. And then they're done and they're off. And the proposal is that, we have these limited supervised interval loops that we are able to do there. We're very resource constrained with respect to indoor track. We don't have an indoor track. We run the sprinters in the hallway, but the distance and mid-distance runners, these groups, we need to do their interval work because there's no hallway that's 200 meters long and we can really get that in. So we will typically bring them outside to do it. I've looked at multiple areas to do it around town. I think I've laid those out. I've taken my measurement wheel and gone around many cul-de-sacs and many loops. We have been using the upper parking lot of the school, which we've measured to about 200 meters. The issue there is it's uphill, one section, and there is traffic. I've had a police car, I've had some DPW moving a trailer. We watch it carefully, but there is traffic there. It is uphill, and so being that the cemetery loop is right there, it's a very convenient and good solution to avoid that. It's an enclosed and safe area. So I'm just looking to see if we can, take advantage of the safest area that we could find for it. The key obviously is that, this would be a limited group. It could be very controlled. It has the sort of controls over it of the athletic department and the school. I'm open to a trial period. I'm also, understanding that given the school's involved, that if there's an issue, then, the privilege goes away. But it's a very small period of time, very much like a permit for use of some facility. And again, it's something that, given the resource limitations, it would be very helpful for the team. It's very close to the school. Winter track is cold, as we all know. This winter is very cold. we like to get the kids out there, get them to do their interval, and then get them back to the school and get them warm as soon as we can. So we avoid injuries and things like that. And this keeps them also off the street and so forth. That's the general request. And I thank Tony and I thank Chuck for helping me through this. It was sort of a quick informal request that has now become an agenda item, but I hope that information was helpful, and I'm certainly willing to field any questions.
So I saw your appeal, your information. It was very helpful because this has come up a couple of other times and we really didn't have any background, so I appreciate that. So you've got about a dozen times that you're going to use it, 10 to a dozen or something?
10 to a
between
dozen,
December-
yeah, depending on the number of weeks. Oftentimes, we won't have a week, but it'll be, yeah, however many weeks the season is. So usually about 4 times in December and about 4 or 5 times in January, and the season ends in February.
Right. Oh, I understand that. Given the amount of snow this year, would you be doing that? I happened to go down there and they plowed it.
I did see that. I went by it today and saw that it was plowed, yes.
And so would you use it under circumstances like this or really, because it's a little tough, there is snow around and that's.
Yeah, so that would be one of the situations where we would use it. You know, you meaning it is a plowed area, it is often plowed, it is often open.
Slippery though, it's not perfectly plowed.
Well, we certainly don't use, so I will say, we don't go out in conditions when it's unsafe. And if
Yeah.
it's unsafe there, it would typically be unsafe someplace else. But truly, we don't go out in conditions where it's unsafe. Oftentimes, I have to send the kids running around the halls at the high school. But the safety always comes first. So if it is not a clear surface, we don't use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I know that the cemeteries are used by any of a number of people, including I taught my grandchildren to ride a bicycle on the cemetery. It's a very convenient spot to do that. It was the other cemetery down by
Pleasant Street.
but nevertheless has a little road and you can kind of work a little kid. The people are always walking there. I see that. So. Okay.
I have family buried there. I personally don't have a problem with it, but is there a policy issue here?
Yeah, so the cemetery policy does not allow recreational use in the cemetery. But there is a section that says, special cases may arise in which the literal enforcement of a rule may impose unnecessary hardship. The Board of Selectmen therefore reserve the right without notice to make exceptions, suspensions, or modifications in any of these rules and regulations when, in their judgment, such action appears necessary. And such temporary exception, suspension, or modification shall not affect the general application of the rule. So I read that as if the select board feels that the rule is imposing an unnecessary hardship, you have the authority to temporarily suspend that rule. So I guess that's the judgment that you're making.
Right.
Is it a hardship?
Is it a hardship? Yeah. Like I said, I don't have a problem with it. I know there's some people out there that maybe do have a problem. I would be in favor of it on some sort of temporary basis and take a look at it after a season or whatever and see how it goes, I guess.
I'll echo some of the things that Jeff said, that I've heard from people who have loved ones there, and there is some concern there. And then I look towards what do we consider a hardship. You know, I'm pleased to see the limited times you plan on using it, okay? So that's a plus. I just have to weigh, and I'm wrestling with this now, suspension of the rules for hardship for an indoor track team, and the feelings of the general population as to the use of the cemetery beyond what was, there was a reason why that policy was written. So I'm still wrestling with that.
As a former track mom, every other place where I've lived, the track teams used the cemetery, but it was mostly long distance. So it was the cross-country 1 miler, 2 milers, My son was a 400.
Mhm.
They didn't sprint in the cemetery. They were fortunate to have an indoor track, you know, et cetera. But I'm unfamiliar with the concept of the sprinters for the shorter distance folks looping around the cemetery like that, so.
It's not the
Not sprint, so,
Yes.
so which events are you
So we're
training for?
talking the distance folks typically.
1 milers,
we're
2
talking
milers,
1 miles, 2 milers, maybe
800?
8,000, indoors 1,000, typically that,
Okay, so
600.
1,000.
And I think maybe I didn't make it clear, but the sprinters, they
They're
do,
in the
they're in the
school.
halls because that's their distances, you're doing
Right.
50 meters, 20 meters, 30, 40. It's just, like you said, those groups who
But-
you can't sprint the
But
hall.
not the 400s and those.
No, and it is a
Relays, you're not gonna be practicing relays on the
No,
loop?
we don't practice
Okay.
relays, we would not practice relays, and I'm certainly, as you can probably tell, I'm open to very limited restrictions. The time period is very quick, you know,
Yeah.
obviously very respectful of any kind of conflicts. It is that small loop and that small section. And, you know, I'm open to, this didn't work, that, you know, we tried, this didn't work, I understand that. We want to be very respectful about how it's approached. It's just it's, you know, I understand it's a tough situation. It's a perfect, safe, enclosed location.
Right.
But also it's a cemetery. I understand that.
And you know, like John said, you know, a lot of us taking our kids to cemeteries to teach them how to ride a bike. I learned how to drive a stick shift in a cemetery because they are used for, because it was a safe enclosed environment. I wasn't gonna hurt anybody,
Are you
right?
Didn't run down any headstones, huh?
Right.
You
So-
have a mall parking lot?
I was too far away, cemetery was closer.
You don't have to
So
dump.
I am also inclined to give it a try, give it a shot,
Yeah.
you know. With you were very respectful of the boundaries, et cetera. I was just worried about the sprinting and the handoff of the real, none of that's gonna
None of
happen,
that
so
would
that's
occur
cool.
there,
Yeah, that's
no,
cool, yeah.
you know, we don't let the sprinters out of the building.
There you go.
They are.
Okay.
Could we have a motion to allow this for the 26-27 season only? Just so we get the idea out. If it turns out that there's a huge outcry, we can rescind that in November.
Well, it sounds like the season's over for
The
this
season's
year.
over, it
Yeah.
would
It
definitely
would be
be for next year.
Yeah,
So
for next winter.
26-27
Yes.
season.
Okay, so I move that we approve the temporary utilization, allowing the track team to utilize the cemetery extension loop as outlined here on a temporary basis for the 2026-2027 indoor track season.
Second,
Further discussion? John?
yes.
Anne says yes.
Yeah,
Kathy?
yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Great.
much for your consideration, I appreciate your time on this.
I hope you have a good season next year.
We had a great one this year, I hope you're ready for
Excellent.
cricket.
Yes, we did.
That's terrific,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is, permit facilitation and training for land use boards from Gary has presented us with something. You- Briefly, what are you actually asking for? Because you've given us a whole list of what people should and shouldn't do.
Right.
But I'm not sure you want us to go through that item by item.
No, I have some points to make, and I'll avoid the specific examples. Gary Gilbert, 11 Magnolia Ave, just for the record. The state has asked cities and towns to expedite permitting, and it seems that we as a town should get involved in this effort. Land use board members, once they're appointed, they have no training, but they have immediately really profound powers, judicial powers, that have big effects. Land use decisions have serious financial implications for people. They last for many decades, you could even say centuries, and bad ones can cost the town money, as we've seen from time to time. And with this judicial power, I think there comes responsibility not only for the board members, but also for the town. Because after all, the applicants who come before these boards are completely powerless. You know, they're there typically with an engineer and an attorney. A lot of times they spend money ahead of time just to get their applications in, and then there's multiple meetings that can go on and on and on. And they're usually really mute to say or complain about anything. unfortunately. The town, I feel, and a number of us feel, should provide some sort of guidance and training and help develop policies for how the boards could operate, or protocols. The citizens or applicants certainly would benefit because there'll be less time and less money involved in getting applications approved and better decisions. Boards themselves could benefit by having less meetings, shorter meetings, and better decisions. And the town could benefit through just simply better governance in general. So as I discussed with Tony and Ann earlier, the idea here is to set up a study committee with a member of each of the 4 land use boards, with a couple of at-large members, and I even have an attorney who's already volunteered to help provide some guidance as we get some general discussions going. I think initially they would be sort of open discussions, like how are we going to handle this, because there's many examples, which I'm happy to field questions and provide some specific examples as to why this is needed. But I think initially it'll be sort of an open-ended conversation, and perhaps we'd invite people in town who've have experiences, good or bad, with the boards to come and present them, and we can see what we can get from that, and maybe some of it can turn into policy, and some of it can inform us if we do some training and provide guidance to the board. So that's my basic proposition, and I'm happy to field questions.
Question, have you chatted with the chairs of the various committees that are involved about this?
Chairs, no, but some members in some different committees. I've already got a couple of people that are interested in I know there's a number of people in town that are interested to be on the at-large members, if there's any. And no, I haven't gone to.
And that's that,
It's not for me to take that next step yet.
Okay, all right, just informally.
I'm thinking of some people in a number of boards, but.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how much time, we got a ton of committees, another committee.
Yeah.
And how much time is involved? What are you asking of the people of these, who's involved here? The planning board, zoning board,
Board of Health
Concom.
and Conservation Commission.
Those 3, those are very important boards. Well, that's why you're doing this.
Well,
But-
I think we could flush out, we would have a general discussion. I think within 2 to 4 meetings, even after 2 meetings, we'd have more of a handle on this and have an idea where we're going, because we would talk about, specific examples would be very helpful, and we would talk about it and say, well, what can that turn into? And we make a list of points for, if we have if the town wants to have some training sessions or guidance sessions, or whatever you want to call them, we could start to get something tangible in relatively short term, I believe.
Is there a reason, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Kathy.
I was just gonna suggest, first of all, it was a very comprehensive document, thank you, Gary. I would summarize your document with one of my favorite phrases: make it easy for people to do the right thing, okay? And where I disagree is with the complete focus just on the boards and committees. Personally, I think the whole process, to your point, is very inefficient. I was wondering if we could focus on the process, because personally, I think town employees, okay, so the boards, we all change, right? We get elected, we get appointed, we leave, whatever. It's the town employees who are truly responsible for shepherding a resident through the process. I'm not clear what the process is. I personally would start with that. Do we have a clear, documented process for permitting? Is it well understood by everybody involved, including the boards? That's personally where I would start. I've done a lot of process improvement stuff over the years, and I'm not sure there's clarity there.
Well,
I think that's,
excuse me,
Yeah.
that tees up this one, okay? Which is, and I've talked to Jared on this, and Tony and I have talked about this for a while now, is creating an ombudsman position, okay, that would shepherd someone. We have to make this town user-friendly.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I can tell you that any developer who wants to invest in this town and ask a couple of questions is gonna walk away.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can find, and again, someone who is well-versed in the whole process can then, this is what you have to do, and they can bring the whole plan to that one individual, as you point out, and then they can tell them, these are the boards that you have to, these are the
So-
permits you have to pull, this is the boards you have to do, and this is, oh, by the way, the steps, you go before this board before you go to that board.
Right.
Okay?
So-
I mean, I was on the ZBA.
Right.
And I don't know how many times we'd say, okay, pending approval by the Concom.
Right.
Pending this. So I think that we're getting there, but I just wanted to just.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think at some point, a single point of contact for a resident, right, to shepherd them through the process makes a ton of sense. I would propose that could be a temporary position, because ultimately, if you have a clear process, you can enforce the process and accelerate the process through other means, but other than just adding a body to it. So I'm just suggesting we start with the process, see where the gaps are, and I love, Gary's idea of using some things that went well, some approvals that went quickly versus some other approvals that didn't go so quickly, using those use cases to kind of test out the process. But I would start with the process so that people are not willing to spend their time on it, but I just don't want I don't want it to feel punitive, right? There were some statements in the document that felt a little punitive, for lack of a better phrase, and I just think it's the process, when a process and a structure is not efficient, everybody suffers, and I'd like to start with that.
Can I say, I think that's a little bit of a separate parallel process, parallel thing, okay? I don't disagree, ombudsman, someone to help shepherd things through. Up till now, generally the building inspector's been very helpful. They'll say, hey, I can see from your plot, your lot, you're not anywhere near conservation. We will let them know you're applying for a permit, but you're not gonna have to deal with them, you have to deal with these 2 boards or 3 boards. So there's, to some extent, the process is not too mysterious. But this is more about what goes on during the meetings, having if a board has, I'll jump to an example, if a board has all the documentation in the world on meeting number 1, they should try to resolve that thing within 2 meetings. And if they want to go beyond that, I have something that took 5 meetings, they had all the documentation they want. Maybe they should say, okay, let's have a special meeting in 2 weeks instead of going on monthly cycle. Because that's what I mentioned, boards have responsibilities.
Yes.
So these are things within the meetings. They should stop talking like, what's the building inspector gonna say about this? That's not your purview. People, they spend 20 minutes, some of these boards, talking about
I don't disagree
things off topic.
that training for board members is a good thing. Totally, 100% agree with that. My only caveat is, I think we ought to make sure the process is clear and well understood, so that when we train people, we're training them on the right thing, as opposed to the way it works now. Because the way it works now can be a little bit chaotic. Maybe we don't want to train people on that. Let's start with, the process and who's responsible for what. All get agreement on that. And then, to your point, there are some, may not be Robert's Rules of Order or whatever, but just some general meeting expectations. We come to our meeting, our select board meeting, prepared. We review our packet in advance, we can have a good deliberation. The other boards should operate the same way, and if they're not, then that's a reasonable, thing we can remind them of during training. You are accountable for coming to your meetings prepared. But I wouldn't start there, that's all I'm saying.
I'm wondering, this looks like it lends itself more to a workshop sort of thing, rather than a committee. You said you have an attorney that is well-versed and I'm just wondering if something should be set up like that, one-shot deal, maybe it should be once a year, I don't know. To set up and get these land boards together and say, we're gonna chat about, case studies, maybe they have a dozen of them or something, this situation, that situation, so people get to think about, these are the kinds of the challenges that, well, maybe they've experienced some of them in the recent year or two, and how they should be dealt with. But I agree that you've got 7 people on a committee, and they're all coming from different directions. If they've been around for a while, they kind of know what's going on, but for these boards, even after 2 years, you're still not sure about a lot of stuff.
It's very true. we make a lot of assumptions, that we assume that they realize and take to heart, time is of the essence. Well, they really do need to, because it costs people a lot of money to come with attorneys multiple meetings.
I agree.
Or to not make comments that I've heard in many boards, not just one of them, what I call bullying statements. They shouldn't make that. Someone's applying, don't say, why are you building this? I heard that many meetings.
All right.
You shouldn't really be saying that.
To keep people from being stupid.
Well, if you mention things like this, I think people, if you just call it out, they'll modify their behavior, I think, but no one ever tells them otherwise. No one ever tells them, can you talk to abutters outside of a meeting? And how much can you talk to them about? And at what point are you actually breaking the law? Things like, there's some subtle things here that I think need to be worked out. Some is legal, some is protocol. And I think a group meeting with some with some at-large people would be really beneficial.
Are you thinking about a meeting, as John suggested, where you would bring the boards together so that it'd be a large workshop?
No, I think an individual from each board, because no, that would be too much. Because there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff to cover initially. Maybe the group will say that's the best way to go.
I would think it would,
initially I'm
everybody.
thinking 6 people, basically, 7.
Right, you're
Something like that.
you're only educating one person
Yeah.
at that board at that point.
No, the idea would be to discuss what might be on a list of topics that you might want to integrate into training sessions.
Yeah.
Or what kind of protocol
So
could
you're
be worked
talking,
out.
okay, so you're talking about building a training session from your initial
And
meetings.
potentially adopting bylaws or protocol or some sort of codes of protocol for how the boards operate. Most boards don't have any protocol written down as to how they're supposed to operate.
So who from the town, which town employees should be at that meeting? Because again, I don't think this starts and stops with the boards. There are town employees that have jobs to do, and they should be part of this conversation, I think.
I guess it would depend on, there's certainly employees that, like a conservation agent, land use, employees, someone from inspectional services. As this kind of gets ironed out, you identify.
Okay, because what I'm concerned about is the boards make the decisions, the town employees do the work, to make sure the proper paperwork is filed and it's got all the right signatures, they execute the process along with the applicants, the boards make the decisions. I'm concerned about there being overlap and the boards doing work that town employees should do. So I just want to make sure that if there is such a workshop or meeting, we should identify who from the town employee, which town employees should also be part of that. I don't know.
Are there any other towns doing similar, like, has this been done somewhere else, or?
Well, there are other towns that have public meeting policy, whether that be about the format of a public meeting, whether they're in-person, hybrid, remote, as long as it's not conflicting with the open meeting law. There are towns that do that. There are towns that, I've heard of towns that try to get together once a year with, either the chairs of all the committees or, and KP Law might come in and do a, like a presentation on ethics and open meeting law and training like that.
This seems
Some
to
of these
go
committees go
beyond
to,
that, though.
Yeah, no,
It
we
seems
did
more like
that.
streamlined.
But this is targeted towards a particular subject
I don't know of
matter.
anything specifically like this. I think there could be value there. There certainly could be some value there. I think, you gotta keep in mind these are volunteers who are either appointed or elected. And I think that there needs to be, we talked about this, Gary, I think that there needs to be buy-in from the members of these committees as to what we're trying to accomplish, what's the goal. I think when it, as you were mentioning, Kathy, I think if it becomes punitive, becomes like, a policing thing, there's a negative impact on being able to get people interested in being a volunteer in these committees. So I think if there's buy-in about, trying to be more efficient, we still have to follow the letter of the law, each committee, and execute their jurisdiction, but doing it in an efficient manner, I think if we can get buy-in from the beginning, that's where it starts, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around what this looks like, you know what I mean?
I think in the end, we'd be coming up with some specific suggestions for some protocol that some of the boards could adopt, maybe a bylaw change here or there, but beyond that, we'd have content for maybe an annual coaching session that the town would do with inviting all the land use board members and if any relevant town employees, and go over some of these things that they're assumed to be obvious, but they're not so obvious unless you spell them out. And there's a lot of miscellaneous things that go on that,
So again, I wouldn't want to forget Brian's comment about, we are all here to serve the residents, right? And what you're trying to get at, I think, Gary, is to help the residents get through this process as quickly and efficiently as possible, whether the answer is yes or no, right?
that's why I've
That's
been on
right.
boards and committees for over 20-some
Right,
years.
so
Because
the
of-
question is, if I look out on our website as a resident wanting to, do an
Build a
Enhancement.
tough shut.
I couldn't figure it out, so that's why I still say this starts with process, maybe it's just documenting the process we have. I like John's idea of a workshop, get everybody to walk the wall, put the paper on the wall, okay, outline what we think the process is, because guess what? I bet you're gonna find people think the process is different. You might have 5 people up against there, documenting what they think the process is, you're gonna get 5 different processes. That's why I think it starts with that, and I agree 100% with Gary. Training, these are very technical boards, Brian can certainly attest to that. Very, very technical boards, and a little training, annual training would be a great
Yeah,
idea.
a couple of things. For instance, when I got on the ZBA, for 2 months I just watched. I was an alternate at the time, and then all of a sudden I was pressed into being a voting member, and it was daunting. All right, and then how do you write a decision? How do you review a decision? And that just comes with time. One of the things I want to touch on is the concerns I have at times. Some of the boards stray outside the lines. We saw it 2 weeks ago. Okay, when we were just talking about a simple land swap. Okay, changing the name on a parcel of land, and a member of the Conservation Commission thought should have been their purview to review it first. I don't know where this mentality comes from. We have to stop that mentality. Okay. I think that it was brought up when there's the cargo building going before.
It's a juicy one.
Okay, before for the ZBA, and there were questions about egress into the site, when in fact, that's not the ZBA's purview, okay? And that hung it up for at least a meeting, all right, when in fact, that's the building inspector's purview. And I think that's the point you're trying to
That's
get
a
to.
really good example. That's one I've seen many times over
Okay.
decades, talking about stuff that's a building inspector. It's not like he's an idiot. He's not gonna miss it. They're not gonna get their permit unless they satisfy it. So
Again,
don't
that's
talk about it.
Yeah, so I think
Classic
that-
process and roles and
Okay, and I
responsibilities.
think
Yeah,
that that's what I
just
want. I want
documenting
to tighten all
that.
that up. And
Yes.
I want accountability is what I want.
And you have to have it documented to have accountability.
We
You don't
as
have it.
we as select board members, I believe the recall has been approved, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
We have to do something heinous to be
Yeah.
recalled.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying, but
How
we
bad?
as elected officials do answer, and there is a process to remove
Yes.
us. And I think that we need to,
Well-
again, it should be the process that, all right, am I stepping outside the lines, okay? Which then brings me, which is probably ancillary to this, I still want to revisit the policy of hybrid meetings for all land
Different
use.
topic.
No, it really isn't. It really isn't. Okay, we're trying to find accountability.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've got an email from someone who went before this, the Concom, who was frustrated that they wouldn't, because it was totally virtual, and they wouldn't read things into the record, and they wouldn't allow pictures. okay? And then I think, so these are all, I think this is all part of the process, all right? And I want to review that policy and I'm gonna.
So I agree with that process, and part of the process is, where does a resident go if they believe a board has decided something outside their jurisdiction, or if a board has strayed? I know the select board, we have some accountability for certain, appointments, et cetera, but I don't think we clarify for the residents, what do you do if you feel you have been wronged? That should be
You
part.
gotta go to court.
They go to court and it costs them.
You want to avoid that.
Yeah,
No, you
Big
want to
time.
avoid that, but what I'm saying is, there are some boards that the select board has accountability for, appointing the members or holding them accountable, so, not the elected boards, obviously, but.
There isn't a process now, there isn't a formal complaint process per se. So that's something that you could think about creating.
I think a complaint process has to be, obviously, it's focused on a single individual. And when we did have a vote on having a recall from the select board, I think it was Eli who stood up and said, not for any reason, but because of serious
Right.
malfeasance.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're going to call people in front of you, that's not a way
It's
to
gotta
make
meet
things
a-
function.
It's gotta
And it
meet a
shouldn't
certain
be,
threshold.
it shouldn't be the result of somebody saying something outside his immediate purview. Yes, please.
So Christine Routier, 11 Magnolia Avenue. I'm listening to you talk and I feel like you're beginning to talk about what this committee would be doing. Like there's passion, there's interest, there's like, oh yeah, there's this, there's that. And I'm feeling that there's a lot of issues and it's complex that are already being drawn out by the comments you're making. And it sounds like that would be the topics that a committee would be addressing, right? All the points that need to be looked at and explored.
Let me make a suggestion. I think that the document that they gave us is not sufficient to be there's a word for it, when it's the description of what a committee will do.
Outline.
Sorry, it was a
Charter.
loose.
Charter, yes. If you and your compatriots would come up with a charter that is clear,
For a task force?
I don't,
No.
a charter for anything that they wanna do,
Got
but
it.
tell us what you need. Because I'm not prepared to put together a group of people at the moment based on what I've seen.
Well, I was trying to outline, I think, how many members could be, initially, of course, we go back to the boards as a whole
At the
later,
moment,
but.
that's entirely up to you. I would like you and the people that you trust, or the people you want to have involved, come up with a charter.
Could you explain what you mean by a charter?
Yes, what is it that you're going to do?
Okay,
And what type of membership do you need to get it done?
And if
Recommended.
you need a task force, who should be on the task force?
well, that question I think I can answer right now, but I don't know if that's enough.
I don't know what you're going to do, so I don't know whether the people are right.
Okay,
So what would be the outcome? Think of it that way. How do you know when you're done, right? What's the outcome that you're looking for? Who do you need to help? And to John's earlier question, if you haven't really talked to, the chairs of the boards, I think just out of professional courtesy, I would recommend you reach out to them.
Well, I'm not sure that the document that you're kind of describing doesn't come out of sitting down with the chairs of these boards or some representative from the boards and say, this is kind of where we're going, what do you want to put together? And with this attorney you say that has some experience in this area, I think from that you got a charter and then you've got some sort of a game plan for a meeting or a workshop for all of the members.
so.
That's what makes sense to me. I don't think you can
I don't think we
sit,
need the chairs there either, just a
No.
member.
a member
And get started, get talking about it.
and an
see what-
experienced member, because they are gonna contribute to this charter to what the overall objectives are. And then share that with all of the other members of these boards in, I don't know, a 3-hour or 4-hour session that I think would be led by, I don't know anything about this attorney, but it seems to be a person that probably has experience on what has worked and what has not worked with these various land use boards.
One of the local land use attorneys.
Okay,
I can guess who it is.
all right. Short list.
Short list.
No, but I would think, I'll reiterate, I would think of one member from each of the boards initially, 2 at-large people, someone from the selectmen would be certainly invited, and an attorney. And that's enough to get conversations going.
But we've also heard that you should have employees involved. So
Which,
I don't want,
okay, I'll figure that out, I guess.
We don't have to figure it out here.
we don't have
Maybe
to.
Kathy, you can send me an email what you might recommend with that regard.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you for listening to
On
us.
the-
I think there really should be Tony.
Yeah,
Who on your team
Oh,
is
sorry.
involved in this process, right? And should be contributing, again, to make sure that the boards aren't taking more than they should, right? They're decision makers, right? Who does the work behind the scenes here besides the building inspector?
I think if if the select board, I see it this way, like if I had a goal from the select board to develop, a way for the town side of this process to be more efficient, more transparent, prioritizing those types of things, then I would go and work with the employees to come up with, all right, here's some things that we could do, whether that be updating the website, creating a flow chart, creating a position that helps usher people through a process. That seems to be something that would kind of fall naturally under my umbrella. As far as appointed committees go and whatever policy is going to be determined, that kind of,
Yeah, that's not your
that's not
area.
really my
Yeah. I get
element of it. So I'm happy to work like kind of simultaneously with this effort on the town side, and maybe there's ways that it overlaps nicely, but
Can I ask a quick question and for anyone? Paul Lander does a great job for the amount of time he's here. Would a full-time building inspector,
I know,
okay,
solve some of this.
solve most of these problems?
No,
No?
Some of them, not all of them.
I mean, I can't tell, for when we were revising the bylaws in the planning board, they didn't set a limit, submit your documents, your documents could be submitted 2 days before our meeting. People would come in, I haven't had a chance to review the documents. When you're asking a board to have to establish a protocol,
Okay.
those are the kind of things that are protocol.
We can change those
Significantly
policies.
different things that we're
Right.
worrying about.
We
One
can change
is
policies.
making it possible through the employees to
on
set up a.
yeah, there's efficiencies that can be captured with a full-time building inspector on the town side. It's certainly not going to have influence over how efficient the Conservation Commission or ZBA or Planning Board are with what they do. But
So-
really
So
expensive.
the group might come up with perhaps 2 directions, one direction toward Tony and one of your ideas on how to improve the behavior reports, but I really want to see a concise description.
Okay. Tony, could you work with me on that, or we could have a phone call?
Yeah, I think I have a pretty good understanding of where the select board is on it, and
That's
can
great.
work with
We
you.
could get a lot done with a conversation or two.
Does anybody want to say anything more about this? Thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Good.
I understand your frustration. I hear from Brian that it's affecting the town in a serious way.
I think it is.
And we should address it, but I want more clarity before it gets addressed.
Great, thanks very much. Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Our action items. Authorize the administrator to enter into a 1-year canteen contract.
Let's see, I move that the board authorize the town administrator to enter into a one-year contract with Captain Dusty's Ice Cream to operate the canteen at Singing Beach for the 2026 season.
Second.
I'd like to public comment on that.
Sure, it's made and seconded, but now we can discuss it.
Well, the issue that I have is not with Captain Dusty's.
Identified.
Yeah, give us, although you are well-known, we need your name
Oh,
and
I'm sorry,
address.
I'm sorry. John Carlson, 9 Walker Road, Manchester. Mass. I make active use of the beach. I swim, do long-distance swimming, spend the weekends there with my wife and a whole group of friends. The comments I have are not directed against Captain Dusty's per se, but anybody that you would choose to write a lease to. Currently, right now, Captain Dusty's, when they sell a slushie, they sell a plastic straw in a clear plastic wrap. I cannot tell you how many of those I have picked up on the beach. They litter the beach every day of the week, every day of the summer, all the way into the fall. And it's not just the plastic straws, but it's the plastic wrappers that are clear.
I think the town has a bylaw.
In talking with Cheryl Marshall, because I discussed this with her, right now, there isn't any restriction on what they sell for plastic.
Well, we have a bylaw around the plastic bags, no single-use plastic bags, that's why
Right,
we
but
have
that's
the
not,
Crosby's.
that's not what I'm complaining
Right,
about.
The Crosby's.
The bottom line is, we have vendors, any vendor or proprietor, they sell a product, they make a product, they profit from the product, but we as a town and as citizens have to deal with the mess that's left over from the product they sell. A perfect example is this at the beach. Captain Dusty's has no skin in the game, or any proprietor, has no skin in the game to ensure that the product that they sell does not destroy our beaches or the environment. We as a town have to implement rules that follow that. The plastic bag was a perfect example. Okay, our town is a lot cleaner, the environment is a lot better off. Everybody wins. That needs to be done on Singing Beach because it gets worse every year. And if any of you happen to go to the beach the morning after a weekend or a beautiful night, the trash that's there is terrible. Now, that's not all Captain Dusty's, and I'm not going to let fall. But what we should do as a town is implement guidelines that say, if you want to do a vendor here, this is what you can sell, and this is what you can't sell, and this is what you have to do to help keep this environment clean that you're selling into. And currently, there's nothing. And if we're going to renew a lease, this is a perfect time to start implementing this. And then start working towards it, so when they open up in the summertime, they have a solution. But it is terrible.
I'll just comment on that
Yes,
last
certainly.
comment. It would be, depending on what the solution proposed is, but for example, if you required compostable products, that it would be a little late for this process to push that, because that would affect a vendor's bid, because those products have a different cost.
Mhm.
So the bid on what they would pay for the rent would change. So that, it's a little late for this, but if this is a 1 year, you could start working on it for the next bid cycle, if that was something you wanted to consider.
I'm concerned about compostable because compostable is generally over the course of a year or more.
Mhm.
They're not gonna go away overnight.
So, but I take your point, Tony, but I brought this up to the Parks and Rec last year. and they said, go when they're renewing the lease. I was told to come to this meeting if I wanted to bring this up by the Parks and Rec. So to be told then that, hey, you're late to the game is kind of, because I'm saying, this is when I was told to come to bring this up.
It's good, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you brought it up. It's good timing because it's relevant to the topic at hand.
Well,
I just think it would be,
okay,
you have to start the process over. If we were requiring something that would have a cost impact to potential vendors, changing their potential bid, we'd have to start the process over, that's all I'm saying. And I'm not sure if that's even what you're suggesting.
well,
I just wanted the board
what
to
I'm
be aware of
looking
that.
for, like, for example, maybe in the agreement that doesn't affect their purchase is saying, okay, you have to commit to having your employees walk the beach and pick it up.
With all due respect, I can't imagine imposing that kind of restrictions on any business. That would be, if someone buys a pizza box, buys a pizza at Bravo and then brings it to the beach, are you gonna require Bravo to go walk the beach and pick up the pizza
Well, I'm
boxes?
not saying they can help contribute
I think they
to
do.
keep the beach
I
clean.
think they do. I've known them for 30 years, okay?
The
And I
kids
know
that work at Captain Dusty's
Just,
or
wait,
Major Sands don't.
let's,
They do.
let's not get into it. My impression is that the board is not prepared to require that whoever gets this contract is responsible for plastic on the beach.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I do think you're bringing up an important consideration. My first step would be, I do think it's too late to do anything this year, unfortunately. However, what I do think we should do is learn. What are some of the other beaches doing? Do they have some, restrictions that we don't know about? I don't know. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing. It's an interesting topic. Before changing anything, I would just want to do some learning.
Don't they clean the beach on a regular basis? They've got some sort of a vehicle that's out there.
That,
We do that for.
that gets run maybe like every 3 to 4 weeks. That is not something that,
Okay.
Yeah, it's not really a trash.
See, I don't know if you're coming at this from an appearance perspective or an environmental perspective.
both.
Okay, I can tell you that whatever packaging is there, it's not gonna change the appearance of the beach. That is human behavior. And if instead of plastic, it's paper or something else, it's still gonna be there. So it will, kind of go away or over time, but it's still gonna be there the following morning. Okay,
Well, that's what I'm saying. It does affect the appearance of the beach.
of course
You
it
walk
does.
the beach and you're seeing garbage and plastic straws and plaques.
Right, so, all right, so from plastic to paper straws. You still got straws?
No, I'm not, I'm not coming here saying you should do this. I'm saying that something needs to be implemented. I agree with Ann that if you go do compostable, right?
Yeah.
Straws. If you buy a compostable spoon or fork or knife, well, that's, unless it's under high heat, high pressure, it's gonna take at least 4 to 5 years.
And that's the point, and you came in here saying, I don't like the appearance of the beach the day after. None of that's gonna make a difference.
Okay,
So-
I think Kathy has a very good suggestion,
Yeah,
and I'd like Tony to suggest to Cheryl that she check with other beaches and find out what their concessions do to avoid trashing.
maybe they have
It may not be the
a more
concession,
frequent
it may
cleaning.
be a policy around, maybe they have somebody giving tickets on littering. I have no idea, but it may not be limited to the concession. That should be one area we look at. But what are the best practices around keeping our beach cleaner and more environmentally friendly?
Yeah, it maybe needs to be cleaned more frequently.
That could be it.
Somebody says, who said 3 weeks, once every 3 weeks?
Because because when I swim in the morning, that's when they run it.
Yeah.
And I would say once every 3 weeks to a month.
All
The
right,
town had at one point budgeted for one, and your predecessor Greg took the town-approved funds and didn't buy it. Otherwise, the DPW and Chuck who's a saint, could run it as often as he wants, but the town chose not to do that.
Okay,
Different product, I mean, we have, the raking that happens now is not, it's not like a screening for trash, it's not
Yeah.
gonna pick up a straw.
It's mainly for
Right.
seaweed.
It's mostly for seaweed, but
yeah,
I'm sure there are a number of different things that we could consider to help with the trash problem that aren't, wouldn't be subject to this one-year lease. So I'm happy to look into that.
So that's something that that the Parks and Rec Department could implement, if they find a good policy, they could implement it next season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a couple of comments on the actual lease. Number one is, in the length of agreement, ending November 30th for each of the years 2023, 24, 25. I think that ought to be changed.
All that's getting worked
Get
on.
It doesn't say 2026.
It doesn't take, it says three years.
Yeah, all that'll be edited to be.
Okay, and on number 7, destruction by fire, about the 5th line, if such damage are insolvent according, I don't know what that means.
All right.
And
People have been signing it for years.
so this
Contract
What
needs to be
section is
cleaned
that?
up.
What section is that?
section 7, line 5, unusable to operate are the first words in the line.
we're unable to operate due to damage.
Unable to operate, right? Good. So,
So if the select board is in favor or supportive of doing a one-year agreement, I'll get a updated one-year contract
okay,
before you at the next meeting.
super. Thank
We
you.
have a motion and a second on the table. Do we defer that?
No, it's just don't know. So.
And we need to speak to Cheryl, you need to speak to Cheryl and say what's going on with trash and what ideas are there?
Yeah, I don't think that falls
It's not-
under the
it's not relevant
contract,
to
the
this.
lease agreement, but
Not directly.
yeah, but I'll have a one-year lease, one-year contract written up before our next meeting for you to vote on, if you're comfortable with the one-year term.
I think,
It's typically been a 3-year term. I believe Cat and Dusty's is, only interested in doing a 1-year. Wanted to make sure you were good with that. If you are, I'll proceed.
Okay.
who made the motion?
I did.
Can you withdraw it? Will you
I
withdraw it?
will withdraw the motion.
And the seconder?
I guess I withdraw it, doesn't have a second now.
Okay. So we'll come back and vote on this in 2 weeks.
So one closing, just comment,
Yep.
Tony, if you could, when you talk to her about also, when you talk to Cheryl about the trash and the bins that are on the left, in the sense of possibly looking at, because you go there any morning afterwards, whether it's the seagulls or people just being lazy, being people, and it's just terrible, it really is. You talk about appearance, if you were to pull in the parking lot, you'd say, what the heck's going on here? The other thing is, and this is the last thing I want to say as a point of reference, the beads you're wearing now, the Mardi Gras beads?
Yeah, I know.
They've switched
They've switched
That's
to.
right.
to all biodegradable, so it can be done.
Yeah, but I haven't been there for 10 years,
Yeah.
so.
No, but I'm just saying,
Yep,
that's how
right.
we as a society need to think.
I think that, just a comment, Captain Dusty used to use the biodegradable
Mhm.
spoons
Straws.
and straws, and then 2 years ago, there were many complaints from the consumers about, they didn't.
They didn't like them.
They were collapsing when you were trying to suck something through on a straw, and they were falling apart when they were trying to do everything. So as a consumer demand is how they changed that.
Well, as a consumer demand, I hope that they sell a product that helps, doesn't ruin the beaches with plastic.
We've done with that, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
We'll just close the canteen off.
the next is a request to operate a mobile, sauna.
There's no one here.
And
I'm here all day. The only reason I'm here is to pay for this.
before you start, you shouldn't put the town seal on something that's not produced by the town.
Oh, I apologize for that.
Yeah, I know you'll be going to other towns, you will be more warmly welcomed if you don't pretend that it's a town document.
Okay, understood. Yep, understood.
Okay, give us a brief overview, and I think we've all read this one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, my name is Brett Atkins. I live in Boston. What I am requesting is to operate this Nordic-style mobile sauna for Saturday, March 21st and Sunday, March 22nd in the parking lot of White Beach. The idea would be to offer both residents and visitors of Manchester the ability to use the sauna and kind of activate the White Beach space in a time of year when it's otherwise not as frequently visited. We just worked this past weekend with Andover Parks and Rec to run a similar type event for their Winterfest, which was really successful and really well regarded. And my hope is that I might be able to, at the conclusion of that weekend, share any and all feedback that we receive for a potential future consideration around a somewhat more regular appearance. I don't know, obviously, what the town's policy is around partnering with, this sort of like vendor. Or what sort of fees might be associated with it, but we're obviously open to all of that. Yeah, it's something we've seen be really successful and people really love. It's been run really successfully in Beverly, in Middletown, Rhode Island. There's one up in Ipswich. So it's a proven operation that is can be managed really safely, and just offers a really unique off-season winter wellness experience for folks.
John?
No, nothing. I read all the stuff. You touched all the bases there. I don't know if I'm as interested as Brian is, but I'm
No, because what was confusing was, what do you call it? The dog day sauna. I'm thinking, I don't have a dog, why would I bring it? I didn't know the dogs went to saunas. I don't know.
So
I was confused.
we got about a dozen similar comments at Andover
I
this
might
past
suggest change
weekend.
the name. I'm
We
just-
might have to rebrand.
Yeah, my question was, very good information, thank you. I also used to live in Andover, Winterfest is a great event, much larger though. So my question is, why White Beach? Just
Why White Beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
like, why not Singing Beach? Like, what's
Oh,
bigger parking lot? and-
logistically, Singing Beach just looked like it didn't have as close to an entry point onto the beach. So we wanted people to be able to be in the sauna,
Yeah.
look out at the water, be able to go right
Okay.
onto the beach.
Okay.
It just looked more conducive to that. Also,
I
just
didn't really
looked
see
less
much of a
crowded.
window, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
I have some updated photos if that's helpful.
I guess I think it sounds fun, great. My only concern is, so that stretch of beach, it's got a small parking lot, and if there's a bad storm,
Mhm.
you might not have any parking lot. So, March is still winter, and we have had bad storms in March, so what would your plan be? How would you determine if it's, safe to do that weekend? Because we've been able to plow the road or plow the parking lot. It's not, it's kind of, it is off to the
Sure.
side. So do you have a plan B?
Well, I think, we are weather dependent, so obviously if there's nasty weather, we won't.
Or is it's like the day after? Because it does get that road gets washed out a bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a specific plan for that in mind. I had previously spoken to Chief Fitzgerald about the parking situation, so if he's still the appropriate person going forward, I could, reach out to confirm if we get some inclement weather. Otherwise, obviously, if we show up and, we've got a trailer, so if it looks like the ground's not conducive to putting a trailer on it, we can't put it there, so.
Yeah. It's just like what is there, 20 spaces there or something? I forget. I drive by there all the time, but I don't count spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you have one parking space for your sauna. You must have another space for the vehicle that
Correct.
takes the sauna there, so that's two.
Correct.
And then most of your customers, unless they're coming from the neighborhood, they're all probably driving there, right? So you're
Correct.
probably gonna figure on taking up, 5 or 6, 7 parking spaces for the 2 days.
Yeah, we can support up to about 5 people at a time, so.
So that's
yeah,
about 7,
maximum
and
of
then,
5.
if they're enjoying swimming, they may not
Correct.
leave right away and they'll stay around, and then, so, it's a good amount of parking that they're using, so I would just, suggest having a plan B, and being
Yeah.
able to notify your people, your customers, this ain't gonna work, the road's not in good condition today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's also too, we proposed it as kind of like a pilot. And
Yeah,
if it seems that, the space isn't working for the town or for us, then we would just, that kind of be the end of it. But
So what kind of permission
Yeah.
can we give and should we give?
This is
There's no
similar
food.
to like a special events permit, I would say. They'll be required to provide all the standard insurance, which I'm sure you had to do for the other communities if you were on public property. So I'm sure you have all that in hand. We were mindful of the dates that were chosen,
Yep.
if he had been requesting middle
July.
of June or July, we would have said yes, because of the,
Mhm.
the need for parking there during the summer months. But for 2 days, end of March, I think it is.
Mhm.
2 days end of March, I think, as far as the town's concerns, I think we're covered.
The, would Board of Health inspect this in Andover, did
They did not. When I previously spoke with Gloucester, the Board of Health, they said, we're not, we don't need to inspect it.
It's true.
So.
We checked.
Not just, the questions that come up.
I had the same question, and actually the answer is no. They don't have jurisdiction over that.
I was just thinking about when we had people, you're not sleeping in the efforts.
Yeah,
Do we have a fee
and they're
for,
not serving any food or anything like that.
Correct.
do we have a fee for a special event?
Yeah. For a permit like this, I think we do.
But
I'm not sure what it is.
Okay.
I think that it's not a bad way for a trial run, but I think you'd probably see more success if it was, in tandem with other events like Winterfest in Andover, something like that here
Sure.
in the future.
No,
I think your name is on this one.
oh. I was just days in here. I move the select board approve the request from Brett Atkins, Dog Day Sauna, the use of one parking spot at White Beach on March 21st and 22nd for the placement of a mobile sauna unit.
Second.
John?
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Good luck.
Fantastic.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Liaison updates. Jeff?
I don't really have much, the planning boards, that's everything for, town meeting. The HAC hasn't met, I don't know, do you know when they're meeting again? Cause that meeting got pushed off, so,
I don't.
yeah, I don't either. And Essex Tech, we're just back to our normal day-to-day business there, so.
Parks and Rec, they approved, this will be coming before the boards and at some future point, was the 5K hit the street that Kelly has done the past couple of years. So Parks and Rec Committee voted to approve that, it'll be coming before us. Also, Trinity North Shore has requested use of the Kroll Chapel on, was it every Sunday?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. And Parks and Rec has looked at that and will move that along to the select board with their
Who
approvals.
wants to use it?
The Trinity, it's Wendy Dixon, and it's the Trinity North Shore Church.
Oh, Wendy?
Yeah, they've been meeting at, I think, in Cumming Center for a while now.
Oh,
And so they're looking for the use of the Kroll Chapel
Every Sunday.
every Sunday.
sounds like
For how
an
long?
appropriate use to me.
A couple of months, yeah.
Yeah, the information's gonna come along to you folks at a future meeting.
And then,
Are
they'll,
they worried
My
about-
only concern is parking on
Yeah.
Rosedale.
right, so that, I mean, that's one of the things that they're gonna address. And they'll put that together for a full approval package for the select
This
board.
being a Sunday, the schools are probably not in session.
This Sunday, probably not. And then finally, the beach chairs. That's another, there was two local kids that wanted to start renting beach chairs at the beach. There were a lot, and this came up a couple of months ago, and Parks and Rec sent them back with some homework to do, including their insurances, tax implications, all the right questions of any future business operator. So they're putting that together, and that'll be forwarded to the select board at a future
Excellent.
date. And that's all I got.
Kathy?
Nothing since our last meeting. Downtown Improvement meets tomorrow morning. Bike and Ped, I think, is next week, so.
DPW, things are going along, I guess, okay. They've been wrestling with snow the last couple of weeks, as we all know. I think they're keeping up with it, at least Chuck says that. I had a little tough time with some plows, but I think everything's back in operation there. And I think all of their operational budgets got passed at the meeting last Thursday. It's just, the
except
capital
for-
is the elephant in the
except for
room, and they've got a lot of capital that's on the to-do list, but I think their operational budgets got through. The COA lost a van driver, or he retired.
Jack?
No, Jack and Steve are there, I can't remember the guy's name. But, so he's retired, so they've got to get another van driver. They do have a per diem guy that's kind of filling in, so they're keeping up with demand right now.
How's the
But-
utilization of CADA?
I haven't got a data on that. I only have data from, when was it, 2 months ago? That's a good idea.
We should get an update on
Get an
that.
update on that. So, yeah, let's see how that's going. And the Historic District Commission, they had a meeting last Thursday, a presentation by John Clemson of the survey of the historic houses in School Street. And they held that over at the community hall. They had like 120 people, a lot of people. And he presented his findings with regard to about 130 houses or so that were in School Street and on the side streets, on the side street, not Norwood, but all the cross streets. And it was pretty interesting. I was there for most of the talk, not all of it, and there were a lot of people that were just curious. I'm going to put my house up. Let's see. I want to see what the story is. But he's doing a lot of work. The objective of all of this, to survey this, is the Historic District Commission of the museum. There are inquiries. People want to get their houses, and there are a number of houses here that kind of qualify for being on the National Register of Historic Places, one way or another. But you really have to put that in the context of, well, where is this house? And if you do surveys like this, the opportunity to have, I guess it's the Mass Historical District or somebody that manages that, to get that designation goes up. So Clemson's presentation was well received, and in fact, in the CPC list this year is some money for him to do a second study of another neighborhood. He did an initial study before any of the surveys were done and cut the town up to 11, I think 7 neighborhoods. This was the first one and the most appropriate to be number 1. And so I think the expectation is that maybe another one will be done. I'm not sure which one is coming here. And that's it.
Okay, well, you've heard about the finance committee. We've got the document from the Board of Health. And the school committee voted to adopt the budget that's in front of us now. I seem to have spent an awful lot of time getting absolutely nowhere. Okay.
You're doing it so well dressed.
The consent agenda. Is there?
That's you.
Hmm?
That's you.
Oh, really?
Yes, so,
Thank you.
cool.
I move that the select board approve the consent agenda.
Second,
Discussion. Jeff,
yes.
Brian,
Yes,
and Kathy.
Yes.
Ann says yes.
John says yes. Just a question on the election warrant. Are we getting some money to help kind of defray that cost, or we know if that's gonna happen or not happen, or where does that
I
stand?
believe we will get some funds
Okay.
from the state for the cost of the special election. Won't cover the
No, I
entirety of
didn't
it.
expect that.
And we'll have to speak to the finance committee for a reserve fund transfer for the balance.
What is the total cost of that, do you know?
$14,000 or something.
15?
Did we hear
I think it
14,000?
was like 14,
Ooh.
and I think like half of it gets paid for by the state. We're probably into it for 7,000 or 8,000.
That's a lot.
I'll double check those. You'll know the exact number once after the special election and we tally everything up. We'll know exactly how much.
maybe we'll have to cancel our regular general election. We don't have any money left over.
Okay.
We have a lot going on between preparation for town meeting and the budget and preparing the budget. We went through that already today. We're also eagerly awaiting information from Maya regarding our health insurance and potential health structure, health plans, alternative health plans to look at, to find ways to try to reduce some costs for the town and for employees. And that ties right into collective bargaining agreements, negotiations with fire, DPW, and clerical unions. We met with National Grid and the DPW the other day with folks from the gas side and the electrical side to talk about a number of different issues and really stress the importance of communication and cooperation between the town's projects and National Grid's projects to make sure that we're lining those up together. A lot of work with the Masonic Hall and the design of the future senior center and working on getting those documents over the finish line so we can close on the sale of the property. You mentioned DPW snow removal. I do want to give the DPW, police, fire, Tiffany Communications, a shout out for the work that they've been doing. They've been, really working long hours and working hard to remove snow as much as they can and communicate that with the residents and be effective with the process of that. So people are moving their cars out of parking lots so we can then clear the snow from the parking lots and move people back in. It's been a lot of work, and we're hoping for warm weather Sunday and Monday because it looks like another large amount of potential snow heading our way. And if it wasn't for all the work that the DPW had done after the first storm, we wouldn't have room for the snow after the second storm. So it's going to be an expensive year as far as snow removal goes, but it's been a number of years since the last time we've had this type of accumulation. Our clerk's office is also working, they have the special election coming up, dog licenses and census all happening at the same time. You talked about the COA and some staffing there with the bus driver. There's also lunch of the month is starting up
I
again.
guess you could do that.
So that's, Mary's getting settled there and things are starting to come back. We do have some staffing items that we're working on in the police department, 2 vacancies there, and in the fire department, filling the spots from the SAFER grant. The harbor master's office is working hard with renewals. Library's working on their ADA design and should be at 90% next week. And then late last week on the Shingle Hill SLV housing project, court ruled denying the appeal on the permit. So we have, I think, until March 13th or 15th, or mid-March to appeal that decision. Likely we'll do an executive session next week, the next select board meeting on the 2nd to talk with legal about those options and decide what our next steps are.
Malcolm, are you here for something specific?
I didn't want you to have an empty room.
I
I finished over there and thought, oh, well, it's not here.
Oh,
And I don't miss it.
But we miss you.
Do I have is there a motion?
there is. Yes,
Would
to adjourn.
I move to adjourn, how's that? Is that specific enough?
Second.
There you go.
All in favor, all opposed? Great silence. Thank you.
Didn't drop.